Good morning and welcome to the free daily coaching hangout. Your daily hangout for mindset, tech tips, and everything attraction marketing. We're here every morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Sit back or jump in. Either way, remember to have some fun. Here at freedailycoaching.com.
Good morning and welcome to the Free Daily Coaching Podcast. Today is June 4th, and this morning we're going to do a continuation of yesterday's podcast. And really, we're going to talk about something that I'm going to kind of go off the cuff and do something a little bit different for this morning's podcast, because we're doing a continuation from yesterday. So yesterday we did our premiere podcast once we got all the technical difficulties taken out, and we were able to actually record the podcast each and every morning and actually create a live webinar at the same time. So some of our listeners are actually listening in live and actually watching at the same time. We opened up a question and answer feature for them. So if there's a on the topic for that day, they can actually chime in and ask a question in real time. So I'm going to do a little something off the cuff this morning, and I still want to tie it into yesterday's podcast and so because I said I would. And so yesterday we talked about the 7 steps, the 7 daily method of operation, the 7 steps that I took when I originally started marketing online. And really those 7 steps became the foundation of what it was that I was doing in my business and in my marketing in general. And so the reason I'm all fired up and I wanted to have the call about this morning, the podcast, is because I just happened to get some communications, and it's funny. The communications were funny to me and provided me a little bit of humor. And I thought of a great, as a great teaching lesson. And the reason that these communications, tickled my fancy were specifically because the communications were coming from someone that has not done any of these steps that are in the daily method of operation. And so the reason that kind of is amusing is that I got communications from someone that basically stopped communicating with me altogether, and out of the blue decided to communicate with me again. And this is someone that I know pretty well. And so anyways, they just out of the blue asked, what was going on. And I mentioned that I was continuing to do what I had been doing, right? That I was moving forward in my business, and I was doing, and I said 3 or 4 different things that I would be doing in my business moving forward. I'm going on a trip this weekend down to Dallas, Texas to see the Rolling Stones, and I actually won that as a prize. I'm the following weekend going up to the mountains in Breckenridge, Colorado. So up to the mountains here in Colorado for an event, and I'm speaking there for a little bit and doing some training. And then the following weekend after that, I'm going out to Las Vegas to speak on a panel at an event. And the reason that I'm able to do that, and I'm not telling you, and I'm not sharing that on this morning's podcast to be braggadocious. I'm sharing that because I've had the ability to do those things because of the fact that I started implementing these 7 steps, these daily method of operations, right? And mine had 7 steps in the beginning. That was it. The reason that other people this is why I got all bent up this morning, and I found it humorous, and I was like, hey, I wanted to tie this back. The reason that these 7 steps helped me so much is because they provided me with a platform for something to do on a regular basis. so that I could be consistent, whether it was things that I was doing on a weekly basis or something that I was doing on a daily basis, some things that I do, once a month. It was having that consistency in your marketing to get results. And by doing the same actions over and over and over again, you can get results over and over and over again. And the reason that I got kind of tickled, because I found it amusing that it was kind of like the same communication, but it was like in a different form, but it was like the same story. It's like you hear the same story, but in a new way over and over and over again. And the crazy part is, if you would just focus in and actually take action, if you would focus in and take the action on a regular basis and do it consistently, you could go and really get some serious results. And so I want to take the 7 steps that we talked about yesterday. We talked about personal development, content creation, posting and then sharing that content, developing new relationships, fostering existing relationships, following up with current prospects, and having some daily gratitude. So I wanted to talk specifically about the content creation and the process of actually going out and creating something that you believe other people would find value in, right? Something that you've learned that you're like, wow, someone else was probably looking, I was looking on how to do this. Now I just learned how to do it. I should cut a video or write up an article or shoot a quick video and write an article, right? Maybe I'm going to do a social media post on this and do an infographic. Maybe I'm going to put up a quick meme, right? Or I'm going to do an Instagram post picture on it, and that's going to lead to a funnel that shows then a training that shows how to do what you just learned. Well, when you get used to doing that, when you get used to actually helping and providing something for other marketers, other people that are in the same industry, then what you're doing is you're providing solutions. And when you become a solution provider, you start to become a go-to person, right? People start to come to you and you become attractive. So now you're attracting people to you specifically because you focused on something like content creation. Now, I'm not saying that should be your main focus and you just go out and make content, and because some people do that, they make content, they never actually share the content and post it, right? It actually has to be shared and then posted so that people are actually seeing it, right? To work. And so in addition to that, I always believe that you have to consistently go out and build new relationships with prospects. You have to develop the relationships and foster the existing relationships that you have. And then you have to follow up with these people. So you absolutely have to do, all of these elements that we talked about yesterday in the daily steps, the 7 daily steps, the daily method of operations that I was using. And that is the base of all my marketing. Right? But we have to do it consistently. If you go from one thing and one idea to the next idea, to the next idea, to the next idea, and you never focus in on one actual skill set, one marketing skill set, if you never actually learn how to talk to people, then how are you going to make a funnel and a sales page that would speak to people if you don't know what they want to hear? If you've never talked to any actual people, if you don't know the audience that you're dealing with. And how do you know the audience? Well, you actually build the relationships with the people, right? Unless you've already got a bunch of marketing skills and you already have demographics broken down and all of these things already created. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're discovering what those people want, what needs to be said to them while you're building relationships, while you're out there talking to the people. But if you never do that, if all you ever do is, try to do this little tool for a little bit and then jump over to this other tool and then jump over to this other tool and then go over here and then go over there, you're never going to get traction, right? But if you focus in and you focus in on one specific strategy and do that strategy, then you have an actual opportunity, right? Then you have an opportunity to get a skill set that you can then apply and then get those results. And so I just think it's humorous that if you do one thing just for a little bit and it doesn't work, and then you go to another thing and try that and it doesn't work, how many times is that required? How many times do you have to do that until you recognize this is not working, this is not effective? I need to do something different. I need to take different actions. I need to behave differently so I can get a different result. How many times does that have to occur? And then the next question is really, hey, is there already a way, right? Is there already a system in place? Well, yeah, I shared one yesterday. I shared yesterday a daily method of operation that has 7 steps, 7 things that you could do on a regular basis, right? There's a platform, a marketing platform that I use myself, My Lead System Pro. You can visit that at TREB. You can go to, http://TREB Treb, that's my name backwards, .mlsp.com. If you're listening to the podcast, and go check out this platform that I use, you can actually just grab a 30-day money-back guarantee trial if you'd like to check that marketing platform out. And that platform had 10 steps, right? A PDF in the back office, 10 steps to fire your boss. So they had a 10 daily step plan of action, 10 things that you could do to go out and fire your boss, right? So I refined my list to 7 things that I was going to do on a daily basis. I started with that list of 10. That's where I started. Then later I refined it, and I was doing these 7 steps. Now I've refined that process, and I do all of these 7 steps on a regular basis. And I've added other things in. And so I've created a new daily method of operations. And the reason is because these original 7 steps, they're now just a part of how I am functioning on a regular basis, right? They're part of my daily experience, my daily life. And B, those steps have actually melded and formed and morphed into other training programs, other formulas, other systems that I use on a regular basis, ways that I have codified the action steps that I'm taking on a regular basis to go out and market, to go out and build new relationships. How do I develop these new relationships? How am I fostering existing relationships, right? What am I using to follow up with the current prospects? Well, some of those things I now just do as part of my day. And now there's new steps, there's new things that have been added in. So it's not necessarily that there's more steps. It's just that over time, some of the steps become just a part of your daily activities. They're no longer like required activities. There's just something that you do on a regular basis. And that's how I was able to, and people ask me this question all the time, so let me answer it right now. And this was one of the questions that we got in about the podcast, was about the original free daily coaching before it was even a podcast, when it was just becoming a telephone call and then had transitioned over to a webinar. People asked, how did you do it every single day? Well, the answer was simple, that after doing it for, I don't know, maybe a few months, it just became part of what I did. Just like you get up and you go to the bathroom and you brush your teeth and you get a cup of coffee and you put in some toast or whatever, you make a smoothie, whatever you do in the morning, that like daily ritual, it just became something that I did. So every single day I had the opportunity to go and create content on a regular basis, right? And it automatically got shared and posted to my YouTube channel and to Google Plus, because I was using a Google Hangout and I was using the Webinars on Air platform, an overlay on top of it. So that was already happening. And because of that process, because I was doing it live and I was then, not necessarily super advertising, but yes, promoting it in some areas, because of that, new people were coming in into the mix, and new people were being invited to the call. So I was able to develop a whole bunch of new relationships, not all of which became clients, but a lot of those people did become clients in some fashion, or referred people to me, and or became colleagues, and we were able to network together. So I was able to incorporate that into it. Then also I was able to foster the existing relationships I had with people, because I was able to, and still am able to invite them over on a regular basis to somewhere where there's being a live broadcast, a live transmission, a live training, where they have the ability to interact with me. So I was doing that as well. Right. So then really my day just came down to, I was doing some personal development before that, before the free daily coaching, which again, that once you started doing it, it just becomes a part of what you do. Right. So you don't think about it. It's just part of your morning deal. When you have your coffee, you're doing that, you're reading a book, or you're watching a video, or you're out meditating, you're doing whatever it is that you're doing for personal development. So I had that to do. And then really the only other thing I had to do is follow up with prospective clients, right? With new people that I had come in contact with, that I built relationships with, that may or may not have wanted a product and or service that I was providing. And then I had some daily gratitude to do, right? Then anything I did above and beyond that then became gravy. So then to add on, I was then able to start adding on. And that's what I started to do. So I mastered this one thing where I had this webinar where I was getting all of these results were happening almost just through just that webinar. So then I could branch into a new strategy. Okay, now in addition to webinars, what else can I be doing? Okay, I could be using social media. Okay, well, how will I do that? Okay, well, let me go find these other people that are on social media, see how they're using social media. How are they using it to their advantage in their marketing? And can I use that? Can I use the system, the formula that they're using? Do I like it? Is it something that I would want to do on a regular basis? And then I checked out a couple different styles, a couple different teachers. And then I found someone that I could follow that style, that method of marketing would work for me. I started to employ some of those methods. I got results. And then when they were good results, I then just dove in head first. So this morning's call was all about staying focused, right? And I know I gave you a story, and I kind of told you about how the free daily coaching came about and how I was able to implement these 7 steps that I used for the daily method of operations in the base foundation. And the reason was, you got to focus in and really get some consistency under your feet, right behind you, some real consistency, so that you can get some traction, so that you can actually get some momentum, so that you can start to get some forward progress. If you don't get some consistency, then what happens is you take some action, you get a result. Even if it's good, what happens is it's like taking those 2 steps forward, and you even get to take a third sometimes, and then you take a step back because there's no consistency, right? And so then it feels like you're not moving forward because you're not getting that momentum. But if you were consistent, you'd get those consistent results, right? And by doing that, what naturally occurs is you start to refine the process. And if it doesn't naturally occur with you, then it's simple. You can go out and get some coaching. You can go out and get some mentorship in an area that you're looking for that. And that allows you to refine that process so you can get to the end result that you're looking for. So we tied this all back to yesterday's call and going into this and showing how doing something on the regular, and I showed how an example of how I did that and how I was creating the content, how I was posting and sharing it, developing the new relationships, doing all of the 7 daily steps on a regular basis. And I was showing how in some ways I double dipped, because I was able to knock a bunch of those things out all in one simple exercise. And by doing that on a regular basis, it just became habit. It over time is very, very effective, right? And that's the key, is over time, that consistency. Because, and this is what tickles me, and this is why I got all fired up about that, is because the person I communicated with has been doing this for a significant amount of time. Had they just followed the instructions, had they just done something consistently over time, there would be a result. But with no consistent action, then there is no result. So that's the free daily coaching podcast on the finish up on the 7 steps of my daily method of operation. We'll see you on the next free daily coaching podcast. All right, webinar attendees, thank you for attending the free daily coaching podcast and live webinar. I do open the Q&A, and this morning was more of a broadcast than a Q&A. So I understand that there wasn't any questions this morning. However, if you guys ever do have questions, a Q&A will be open. It's also available for you to send me a private message, and I will feature one of your questions. Now, I do have a list, and there is a few people. I'll grab that in just a second. There is a few people that I'll be reaching out to for some specific questions, and that way I can feature you and your image and bring you over. So if that's something that you are interested in doing and you didn't hear the previous announcement, go ahead and send me a quick personal message, and I will put you on the list, and we'll figure out a day and time that I can actually bring you over, and you can go ahead and ask that question, and we will get it answered. So I will see you all on the next free daily coaching call tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you then.